A recent analysis from the Nebraska Examiner shows a state education fund could be depleted less than 5 years after its creation. The whole point of the investment was to reduce the amount of property taxes needed to fund education. 1011's Darsha Dodge sat down with those closest to the process and brings us the latest details tonight.
Nebraska's unicameral created the Education Future Fund in 2023, infusing it with $1 billion initial investment into state schools while planning to dump an additional $250 million a year into it. It partnered along with LB 583, which expanded the state's funding with an additional $1,500 per student and doubled reimbursement of special ed costs. But with the state facing a roughly $95 million projected budget deficit, a new analysis from the Nebraska Examiner shows $250 million a year won't be enough to sustain it past the 2027-28 fiscal year. Colby Coash, Director of Government Relations for the Nebraska Association of School Boards, says they'll continue advocating for the state to make good on their commitment to keep the fund solvent. Rural and smaller districts say it's especially important, as EFF funding put dollars into K-12 education where it, quote, hadn't been before.
So if this fund were to go away or change in a negative way, then a lot of districts would have really two choices, right? Which would be go back to the local property taxpayers to ask for those funds that are now not coming from the state, or make significant cuts because the funds aren't there anymore.
For Lincoln Public Schools, who don't want to increase class sizes or cut teachers, there's not a lot of wiggle room.
You're limited to things like sports and activities, which people like, or the Career Academy, which is supported by our business community. We like that too, so what would you cut?
But not everyone is convinced the fund will be defunct. Former State Senator Lou Ann Linehan, who helped spearhead the Education Future Fund in the legislature and who now sits on the School Finance Review Commission, saying the government is increasing education spending dramatically and adding that everyone should wait to see if we even have a budget deficit, because in her experience, deficit projections are often way off.
We are not going to balance our checkbook on the backs of our commitment to TIOSA and public schools.
Linehan is insistent that with our minimum reserve of $337 million and a cash reserve of $800 million that we would, quote, have to have quite a crisis if we're going to get in trouble when we have $1 billion. Reporting in Lincoln, Darsha Dodge, 1011 News.